Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope you're doing very well. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning. We got Eric and Paula and our resident counterfeit expert, Jack Young. How you doing, sir? Good to see you. Our
Yeah, good morning. Good to be here as always.
So both Paula and Jack had participated in coin shows, and we're going to talk a little bit about the coin shows, and then when they're done doing this, Jack has an amazing story about interaction that he had while in Indianapolis. We're going to talk about that. And then we're going to have some opportunities for questions. So if you have your questions, get them in chat. I'm going to be monitoring those. Um, Paula, tell me about
Sure.
Portland.
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. I'm so glad I did it. So I got to set up a table for Kaneka in Portland, and I was there with Greg Bennick, and he is just a peach to work with. Um, and Jimmy Crozel, I think is how you say his last name. He is the other Oregon State rep for Kaneka. He's actually the president of the Willamette Coin Club that put on this show. But it was the venue was beautiful. It was at the Hilton, um, uh, Hayden Island, I think. Hayden Island, Hilton. Beautiful venue. Show was busy from start to finish. I mean, it was just a great show. I was at the table pretty much by myself because Greg had a table of his own, and Jimmy, like I said, was the organizer of the show, so he was busy. But I got to talk to some amazing people and look at some great coins and some not so great coins, mostly not so great coins, but that's what I do. The the dream crusher. But it was
Bum,
fun.
bum, bum.
It took me totally out of my comfort zone. I went up there by myself, and I am super happy that I did it because I got my feet wet. And now the next show, every show after, will just get easier and easier. So Jimmy made me a nice banner for my setups in the future for Kaneka, and yeah, I won $300 at the casino on the way up there, and quickly spent it at Greg Bennick's table.
You want to show what you picked up?
Well, yeah, I can. I mean, it's hard. You really can't see anything because my camera is kind of crappy. But let me see if I can point it down a little bit. So I got this. Blurry thing right here. Anyway, it's a counter brockage. I got that. All of these I bought from Greg, so I got a really, really great deal. I got some other ones. I got like a broad struck. I got a couple of world coin errors. I got a 43 with a mercury diamond with a clip, and then I got this. I got a saddle strike.
So explain what a saddle strike is.
So a saddle strike is when a planchet gets fed in. So there used to be die setups that were 2 and 4. There were 2 and 4 dies right, next to each other. And a saddle strike is when a planchet gets fed in between the two dies. Sometimes there can be more than 2. I think some people call this like a Mickey Mouse or something, or mouse ears. I don't know. But you can see it's kind of bent, and that's why they call it a saddle strike. Yeah, so it's blurry and you can't see it, but it's really cool.
So what are the telltale signs of a saddle strike? I'm sure that there's probably tons of
Well,
fake
it
ones out
kind of
there.
speaks for itself. It kind of speaks for itself. It's um, like I said, it's fed in the middle, struck between two die. One die over here and one die over here strikes it. On the reverse, one struck on the reverse. You can't see it regular, and the other one uniface. So This one was struck by the obverse and the reverse die in this chamber, and this one was struck by the obverse die and on top of another planet between the reverse die. So they call that a uniphase. So anyway, cool stuff. I got a ton of elongated scents. The guy that was there was actually rolling them, and I bought some from him, and then he gave me some. And I got Frostbyte a couple. Maybe
I
three.
saw those. Those are awesome. I
Yeah.
appreciate them.
And then I also got gifted, I don't know where I put it. I got gifted a graded die. A graded canceled die. Oh, here it is.
I didn't know they graded those. How the hell do you grade those?
Well, it's not really graded.
What does it say? Uncirculated?
Holdered. It says official U.S. Mint coin die canceled, defaced, 1994 Denver, 1 cent. So, yeah.
So as you're asked the question,
there's actually some design left on it, which is really cool, but I can't show it to you. Isn't that funny?
as yours says, will saddle strikes be a thing of the past with the new laser engraved minting from the
Saddle
mint?
strikes were a thing in the past when they started striking in the horizontal Schuler presses. Yep. So, yeah, in fact, a lot of striking errors have become a thing of the past, or extremely, like if you find, I want to say from like 2012 to now, or maybe 2015 to now, if you find an off-center struck coin, it's actually a very scarce error. So, yeah. Merry Christmas, my little 4-foot Christmas tree.
Well, very cool.
Yeah. It was fun.
So how was your first real Connect experience at the table?
It was busy. Like I said, I had a lot of people bringing me in bags of pocket change, and but I did have a lot of dealers sending people to me. The guy at the
I would expect that from Oregon. There's a lot of dealers in Oregon.
Yeah, the guy at the annex table sent a lot of people over to me.
He missed the joke, folks, but that's okay.
I did, yeah. But security was high. They required ID at the door. When I got to the hotel, it was interesting because there was a park right across the street from the hotel, and you could tell they were kicking people in tents out of the park and cleaning it up. So the hotel probably had the city do that, like say, hey, we've got a big event coming, and it was definitely for show. They were doing it. Portland is a disaster. Don't let anybody tell you any different. I've lived in Oregon since I was 18, so I've been going back and forth. My kids lived up there. Both my kids lived up there at one point. Been going back and forth to Portland for decades, and it is really a disaster. And I did not, the only time I ventured off the freeway was to exit to the hotel, but you could see from the freeway that it was not good. So, yeah, it was sad to see, but the hotel was beautiful, and I had a great time. So.
Very nice. THS, your book that you won on the stream last Saturday went out, so you should be getting that. I put that in chat. Obviously, you're seeing that already. So congratulations on that. You should get that in a couple days. Paula, that's awesome. I'm so glad. I was trying to joke with Portland going downhill and all the dealers, because the dealers were sending you stuff. It's
Oregon. Those are different kind of dealers.
Yeah, well, because Oregon's kind of
made a joke.
Yeah. Anyway, But I'm glad you had a good time. It's a great experience. I know that
I did.
you were really looking forward to that. So that's awesome.
Yep.
Eric, how was your
Yes.
back, brother?
It is getting better finally. Thank God.
I know that's been, you said 3 weeks.
3 weeks now.
What happens when you become old? Right, Jack?
Yeah.
He like, screw you,
I
Frosty.
actually wouldn't know. I don't know, Frosty.
No, that's good. You have, what's on the agenda for you guys today, Eric?
I'm going to do a reveal after you're done, and that's it. I'm just working on identifying coins right now as we do this stream.
Very nice. Let us know if you find anything fun.
It's just reveal identification stuff. But
All
nothing
right.
great.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Nothing great so far.
So today, Jack kind of has done this a couple of times, and so he prefaced a little bit about his show. I'm really interested to hear the story about the dealer who said, "You're wrong." We'll get there in a second, but why don't you tell us about Indianapolis? I heard you guys had a great time. I'll pull the stuff up if you want me to.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, let's get there.
Yeah, we had a great time. Laura and I got out. We live in Dayton, so we only had about a 2-hour drive over to Indy, and got in there Thursday night, and actually ran into hobby luminaries. Jeff Garrett and his wife. It's like I was really surprised to see them.
Oh, nice.
And Jeff ran over and shook my hand and said, "Oh, you're the counterfeit guy." And my wife started laughing and was like, "Well, that's cool recognition, but quite honestly, I am a real person." But that was the first thought went through my mind. But it was interesting because Matt Dinger had actually taken this show over. Matt is, of course, from the Coin Podcast, and the Indiana group that had run this show in the past basically abandoned it. And so Matt said, "Well, we're going to do a show anyhow." And so he actually put it together, and it was really an amazing show. He did a great job organizing it, and I know that it really exceeded his expectations. So he had agreed to get me a table, and I agreed that I was going to put together basically an educational exhibit of not quite authentic coins. And so we got that set up, and he actually put me at what we call the nerds table, and it was great. I had Ben the Coin Geek on one side, who I had not met, and so we had an opportunity to talk quite a bit through the show. And then T Silver, it was late when I wrote this, but T Silver Stacker was on the other side of me, so it was really a hot corner. It was really a lot of fun. And the attendance was just amazing. I know it again. It exceeded Matt's expectations. I think they said there were 800 came through the door on Friday, and had a lot of discussions. It seemed like I was talking from the moment that they let the public in at 10 o'clock on Friday, all the way through Saturday when we finally pulled out about 2 o'clock. And I actually ran out of Frosty's stash of poker chips, which I was using to promote the channel. And I had a picture of him and me, and there were a lot of people that seemed to be quite interested in this channel as well. You're going way too fast.
Yeah, it's right there. Ta-da!
Ta-da! So yeah, that.
Yeah, you like that picture. You like that thumbnail. All right.
I do like that picture. I thought it came out very well. It looked very professional.
Turned
So
out very nice.
So I did images of my two tables, my two cases. If we go down a little bit further, so that was the first one, and the first case had some of the most deceptive counterfeits in it, and many of those are obviously in TPG holders. And then the second case had just an accumulation of a lot of different things. I had contemporary counterfeits there. You can see I had some of the micro O contemporary counterfeits. And when I broke this down and took some additional pictures, I missed that. I missed that section. And And really, the ones I have, Jack Riley's are just amazing. And Jack actually posted an image of his collection on Facebook that way overshadows what I've got there. But it was still a talking point to discuss with folks. Again, you see Frosty and me, and I had some of the what I call mid-level counterfeits there in ICGS holders. You see a number of coins up there that have the PCGS body bags. Those are coins people send to me when they don't get certified, and they'll send me an image or they'll send me the coin and say what's wrong, and then typically they just tell me to go ahead and keep it. So those are not ones I've sent. Those are ones that actually I have more, but those were some of the neater ones that I had to display there. And then we went down, to the side there, some of the worst, the dregs of the earth, the eBay shiny stuff, Morgans and some of that stuff. There is a belt buckle that you see there, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but that actually has a counterfeit trade dollar in what looks like a pretty antique belt buckle. And I had some interest from a lady had walked up and she was listening to me talk about the counterfeits. And then she said, I heard you say everything's counterfeit. Is that also? And I said, yes. And I pulled it out. And she said that her father really collected, antique belt buckles like that. And she wanted to know if it was for sale. And I told her no, but, I would be willing to gift it to her. And she said, no, he wouldn't like it because it's counterfeit. So I left it in the case. Go down a little bit further. So the way I had the cases set up, actually in the first case, again, had the most deceptive ones. And then as you went towards the left, the second case and all the way to the eBay stuff. And this was just a little me. That was an image that had been taken at one of the coin shows where I said counterfeits are everywhere. That's actually Charles Morgan there in the front of that picture. I just use that on a lot of things. In Indy, EAC was in Indy in 2024, and that was the badge they gave me, the dark side. So it's always good to wear that when you walk up to a table and you're looking at, a dealer's coins. And then the PCGS graded coin actually is a genuine coin. I think it's the only genuine coin in the case that I had, but it was one where a friend got it back in a body bag, and I proved to PCGS that, with some help there, that I could authenticate it, that I could basically attribute it. And so they put it in a slab, and they asked me if I wanted any particular title on it. And that's the only coin I own that says Dark Side Collection. And it's interesting because it is the one genuine coin in the whole collection.
So, Jack, Azure Blue asks, what does NGC, PCGS, CAC think about all the counterfeits that you have showing that they're graded?
What's the question? I'm sorry, Frosty.
What does NGC, PCGS, CAC think of all the counterfeits that Jack shows them they graded?
They don't really like them to be exhibited. And so we've had those discussions. When I end up with a coin that actually is in a third-party grader holder as genuine, I notify them and give them the opportunity to do something with the cert. In every case, PCGS just basically blows the cert away. So if that coin were to ever end up back out in the market, which it won't, if you were to go in and look that up, that cert would not be there. So you would know something was wrong as a result of that. NGC does something different. In many cases, NGC will put a note, contact customer service. And one of the 1806 half cents that I had there, one of the gentlemen I was talking to actually took a picture of it and went over and pulled it up on the web, and it said exactly that, contact customer service. And that's their way of saying that there is something wrong with the coin cert. I don't know about CAC. The main thing about any of the top TPGs is they guarantee authenticity. So that's one of the things I talk about a lot. If you have a coin, and a lot of the early copper guys like to crack them out of the slabs, and I've seen some very deceptive counterfeits in slabs. And so I always say, make sure you know what's in it before you take it out, because once you've cracked it, then that guarantee is gone. And I helped a friend, an EAC member, actually get his money back when he cracked the coin out. And that's probably one of the only times that's happened, but we had a lot of documentation to show that it was that coin and it was that cert. And so they did honor that and they took that coin back. But, you know, I have an open offer from all the TPGs to send the coins back, and they will pay you whatever your invoice price is, whatever you can show them on paper you paid, that is what you get. Not a market value or what you think it's worth, but what you actually paid for.
There were a couple other questions. Number one, this wasn't a question, it was a statement. It was from Luther, who was saying, thanks, Jack, for all you're doing to protect the rest of us. We've said this a number of times. I quite literally consider what you're doing the Lord's work, so I appreciate you being out there and educating us. One reason you're kind of a staple on the channel. But one of the questions is, have you ever come across a fake mint set?
No, I have not seen a fake mint set.
What about you, Paula or Eric?
I never have.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Now I have come across put together like 1955 proof sets that were like not in the original packaging that somebody tried to say was original packaging, where they replaced the like little cello envelopes or cello things inside the boxes and they retaped them and things like that. I have come across that kind of stuff, but never completely. Jack, you want to see something? Can I show something real quick before we?
Of course, this is interactive.
I want to show Jack something, but so
It's a nice Christmas tree.
look who I got to meet.
Yes, you sent me a note about that. I own two. Yeah, they're awesome. I've got the first one, and I've got the one he just put out on $50 and dollars. And
I could only afford one of them.
Well,
so
I got one at a time, so yeah.
I bought the copper and nickel, but Winston Zach, for you guys that don't know, he's another counterfeit guy. He's a young fella. And I had more fun sitting down just talking to him and joking around with him. He is so much fun. I had some pictures too. If I could show like 4 pictures of the show, I forgot. Is that okay?
Jack, it's up to him. He's the one presenting.
It's interactive. Do what you want.
It is one I forgot to show. So this is just the map with all the tables at the venue. And then that's the little elongated scent roller. It's really cool. And then this is just some pictures of the venue. It's a lot bigger than it looks here, but it was beautiful. It was such a beautiful venue. They did a really, really great job.
Luther says, I bet you used the hell out of that roller.
Yeah, he did. He did. He did. And that's my little table. That's my coat back there. That's my little table. I brought books and stuff. So anyway, that's all. Thanks for letting me share.
Well, we all share. That was great.
I forgot I had pictures. I actually have a picture of me and Winston too, but you guys can't see it because I have like 6 chins. I got way too close picture of me, so it's a great picture of Winston. But yeah.
I thought you were with a foreign contingent.
It was way too more chins.
Sorry,
than
that
a
was
Chinese
uncalled
phone
for.
book. I know, more chins than a Chinese phone book. Anyway, there you go, Luther. Yeah.
All right, Jack, let's back to this.
All right, Jack, back to you.
Were there any other questions, Frosty, before we go on?
No, Luther was like, Boomer something or other. There's got to be false mint sets out there, and I think the question is I don't know that I've ever seen one. I know I've seen fake GSA holders. I've seen fake Redfield holders. I've seen like Paula was saying, mint sets and stuff that were put together in those. What are those? Capital holders? Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I've seen stuff like that had fake coins in them, but I've never actually seen a fake mint set. So they're probably out there. I just haven't seen them.
If I were to see one, I would expect it to be like one of the double mint sets or something, one of the older ones from the 50s.
There was one more question regarding how hostile do dealers get when you expose they have a fake. I think the story you're going to tell a little bit later kind of gives rise to some of that.
It does, but we talked about my find in Central States, and that was a go brick also, as you recall.
Yep.
And I was very careful. I mean, I went in and asked to see it. I knew it was there and I knew what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked to take some images. And then I walked away and kind of regrouped because I had the article on my phone and I had my certified one that was also counterfeit. And then I waited till there was nobody there. And then I asked him if anyone had ever suggested it was counterfeit. And he was shocked. And then I showed him mine. And then I showed him the attribution points. And I showed him the article off my phone. And he was not hostile at all. He turned pale. I mean, he had it listed for $12,500.
I was about to say, tell everybody how much that coin was. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it was a major investment for him. And I knew who he bought it from. And that person was at that show also. And he blurted out where he got it and that was why he never considered it could be fake, because that guy was such an expert in seeded coinage. And so he never got hostile. He actually thanked me, shook my hand. And but as I turned and walked away, I heard him slam his case shut, and I thought he probably broke it. So I don't think he was hostile with me, but he was quite upset about the situation. Where it went from there, I don't know. Now, I will say that the dealer he got it from was in Indy, and I did make a special trip there. And that gentleman told me that he had just sold his only go brick. So I can only assume that there's another one out there somewhere.
That's a scary thought.
It is, and especially since he knew it was counterfeit. There's no question of that. And
well, you had told him in a previous visit,
well,
right?
he had been told by a friend of mine with previous, because the friend was at the coin show and showed him the genuine source coin, the repaired source coin in a holder. And it's, look, these two both have these same scratches and same marks. Yours can't be real. And he told him he was going to send it back to where he bought it from, but instead it appeared he sold it to another dealer. And I don't bring up names because that's kind of sordid and that's kind of a mess. But Matt Dinger knows who it is.
Well, and so here's the thing. We've talked about this a lot on this channel. We don't necessarily drop names, even when we have a disagreement with somebody. The whole intent is never to do that, but we have to make sure that we're aware of it. The people in the community who can help make a difference in that, which are the peer people, right? You, Matt, some other folks, they can have conversations one-on-one, private, behind the scenes. The problem comes is if it continues to happen, then it needs to be addressed on a larger front. But that's when you get law enforcement involved. That's when you get the ACF involved. That's when you get people involved. Because if they continue to sell $10, $12, $15,000 coins, knowing they're counterfeit, that's they're reaching that level where the feds consider this to be a massive criminal activity. So hopefully this person doesn't continue to run that route. But I'm really glad that you're out there monitoring that, and that there's so many people. Paula talked about Winston Zach. What is he, like 22?
He's young. I don't think he's that young. I think he's probably in his mid to He looks like he's a teenager, but
Yeah, well, he looks like he's 15.
it looks like he's got like a milk mustache. Like a
Yeah.
chocolate
So,
milk mustache.
but there's a lot of amazing people that are doing this work.
30.
So,
Yeah, he's
he's in his 30s. God, he
yeah,
doesn't look like. You know who he reminds me of? Remember Ralph Macchio,
early 30s.
the Karate Kid dude who's 65 and still looks like he's 28?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, good genes. But anyway, thanks for doing that and talking a little bit about that and answering that question, because this is definitely something. And your story, again, it's going to be phenomenal. I read it. He's like, well, what do you think about this? And I'm like, no. I want to hear it from your voice. Like,
Well,
I want to
absolutely. I
hear
always
about the
give you a
interaction.
prelude of what I'm going to do, though. But to your point, when a dealer knows, when it's been shown and documented to be a counterfeit, and he sells it, that's an issue. That's criminal, and that's an issue.
Right.
And people in the hobby that are in his peer level need to know that. And I agree with you. The
Yeah.
issue becomes that some of these are so deceptive that some of the dealers didn't know. And, I've got an EAC dealer that had 2 counterfeits that he just was not aware of. And one of those showed up at a show, and I proved it after he had sold it that it was counterfeit. I had one in my case, my exhibit case. And he did what every good dealer should do. He bought it back. And he not only bought it back, but he gifted it to me to get it off the market. And I actually put it in my exhibit that day. But he did. I mean, but when he was told, then he responded correctly.
Have you ever come across any in like books?
Books.
Yeah, like books that people have written about like early coppers and things like that. Have you ever come across any that like were public, like in publications that you're like, oh, that's not a good one.
Other than PCGS posts?
Oh,
Yeah.
well, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it was a book, but one of the true views that PCGS had online was their top pop elephant. And I
Yeah.
actually own that coin now. It was in a holder, and it was a top pop, and it was a counterfeit.
Right.
And there was another one in a PCGS holder that, believe it or not, got a green cat bean on it, and they did not match any hotter variety. They were counterfeits, and I actually have one in an annex holder right now. But I'd written an article on that, and PCGS president at the time contacted me, and they went really after the dealer that had sold it. He had bought that coin. This is one of those stories where you kind of just get the hair on the back of your neck raised up, because he's a dealer that knew better. It was for sale as a copy on Stack's Bowers auction. It was legitimate, but again, these things can get sold in major auctions, and it was sold as a copy. And he sent it to PCGS, and they put it in a holder as their top pop. So everybody was involved in that one. And I actually have it. I had it in the case here over Indianapolis there. So, and then NGC, when the one that took me down the rabbit hole, the 1798 S158 large cents, the reverse die break was removed because apparently the counterfeiters thought that was damage. And so it made it a variety that really didn't exist, but it was based on an S158. And in their image online thing, they actually showed it as a die variety of that coin. And I sent them an image and said, it's bad enough it's counterfeit and it's in a holder, but you list it as a die variety. And that got eliminated pretty quickly too.
Real quick, vote for Pedro. I just was monitoring chat and saw something that was going on. If they're slabbed, you can reach out to the TPGs and let them know that those coins have been stolen. They should be able to track the scan of those coins. So get with the TPGs and let them know if you have those numbers.
Most of the time when people, just as a little side note, most of the time when people steal graded coins, they break them out.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Doug Davis runs a service for stolen stuff. You can get a hold of him, and he tries to track it down as well.
No slab coins. Okay. going
But
to be
if
hard
they
to
were
track if you
stolen
don't have
in, if they were
amazing
stolen
images.
in Oregon, in Gresham, in Oregon, a good thing to do is to get a hold of a couple of the coin dealers in that area, send them photos of the coins that were stolen, and ask them to pass the word along, because they are the ones that, like West Coast Coins, and they're the ones that go to shows and things like that. And they would also have more luck than I would getting in contact with multiple dealers,
Yeah,
because
great
they do
recommendation.
talk.
Yep. Get a police report too. Yeah, exactly. That's a good recommendation, Paula.
So, because people think that people that steal coins and stuff automatically turn them into pawn shops, but they're just as likely, if not more likely, to sell them to coin shops. So, and also keep an eye on an eBay, Reddit, USA Coin Book, places like that.
Yeah,
And
that's a hefty amount of donations for that package to be stolen. That's a bummer.
Do you remember, Eric, when Delinea had all of those 1995 D double dies stolen, those graded double dice stolen, and Art Ring tracked them back to eBay?
Just heard about it, but I've heard other stories about
Yeah.
people finding their stuff on eBay.
Mm-hmm. People get desperate.
By the way, Azure, happy birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday, Azure.
Happy birthday.
Oh, hope you had a great day. It's my wife's birthday today. It's going to be really easy for me to remember Azure's.
Aw, happy birthday.
I'm taking my wife.
Happy birthday. It's what Frosty the Snowman.
I'm trying to get my wife to do a video. My wife and I laughed so freaking hard yesterday. We both gave each other headaches. I'm trying to get her to do something, but I'll give you a little insight. As a joke, I gave my wife a plunger for her birthday. So if she will agree to doing that, you guys are going to laugh your tail off because I think it's going to be hilarious. But
she'll do it. She's done other videos and stuff. She's hysterical.
she has. Her concern is if this goes viral, she's going to be labeled as the plunger queen. So
okay.
Anyway,
I can think of worse things.
Yeah. So, well, hey, let's get back to Jack. We deviated a lot. But yeah, Pedro, make sure you reach out. And then Jack,
sure.
I'm going to fire over your information to Pedro so that he can get that name and get connected to the gentleman who he can report to.
And definitely send me pictures to Pedro, because I'm going to be laid up for a while and have nothing else to do. So I'll try. I can like troll places for you.
Yeah. See, this is where community matters, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is where identification of this kind of stuff doesn't necessarily mean you're going to identify it, but
the problem is going to be proving that it's the actual one that, you know what I mean? Unless there was only one made.
Well, a lot of times there's circulation marks and other things that identify that coin.
I think it's probably more like bullion type stuff. But maybe not.
No, I see really good coins stolen at coin shows.
No, that he's talking about, that Vote for Pedro is talking about, so they had a box of donations for the Wounded Warrior Project. They did a big auction for Wounded Warrior Project. By the way, I think that they have got like over $500,000 total for that charity. So good on you. But they had a big box of stuff stolen, and through the mail, I think. Vintage of 500. Yeah, it's still going to be tough to prove that it was the actual one, but
yeah, Luther, that's true. You want to be careful doing that. You want to give the people information. They may be combing. But again, we haven't talked about the coins that are there specifically.
Great.
That number, Pedro, is amazing. 538 $1,000 raised in 3 years by Wounded Warrior Project.
By the
That's an
community.
amazing number.
Yeah.
Amazing number. Well, Jack, let's get back to your discussion.
Right.
Sorry for the deviation, folks, but you know how we are. We get squirreled pretty.
All right, so this was in my case. This was the first coin. This is my flagship coin. This is the 1796 struck over a 1843 called large cent. And of course, it's in a PCGS holder. So everybody that saw it said, no, it's got to be genuine. And I said, well, you think a star should be in front of the face of the 1796? And it was no. And of course, that's Bob Julian's artwork. I commissioned him to actually do that. It's just amazing. And, you know, Frosty's highlighting 1 cent bleeds through, the star bleeds through. And you can't see it in this image, but you can in what Bob did. There's part of Liberty is actually in the hair of the 1796, Liberty bleeding through the 1843. So this is my flagship coin. This is my most amazing coin in my collection. And if you check that cert no longer exists because obviously it was an error.
So let's clarify exactly what you mean by artwork. This is a drawing.
Mm-hmm. That is not a photo of an actual
Yeah.
coin.
So for the people who aren't tracking that, this is like
drawings.
Chuck Daughtry level drawing stuff.
my
Like, yeah, he
God.
does some amazing stuff.
Yes, and again, I had commissioned him to do that, and it's just amazing. I've got it in one of my rooms here in my house. It's an amazing coin and
I have one too.
really great artwork. It was funny, well, interesting. He will ask you, do you want to make it exactly like your coin? I mean, he gives people the opportunity to take out some of the blemishes and stuff. He won't put those in. In my case, I said, let's just make sure that the undertype details really pop. So he really accentuated the star and he accentuated the 1 cent. So it really pops out of this. And, you know, once you see it, you can't unsee it. We all know that shouldn't be there. We'll go down a little further. So this is where I started a lot of people. This is the 1806 C1 half cent. And I think I've got 8 of them on display here. I've got a raw one. Most of them are in TPG holders as genuine. And it was kind of a catch for people as they'd walk by. I'd say, hey, look at these 1806 half cents. How many of these do you think are genuine? And everybody would look and say, well, all of them, but the one that says counterfeit. And it's like, no, every one of those are counterfeit. And that would then start another conversation about the how deceptive these particular coins are and how they ended up in third-party graded holders. So very, very deceptive coin. And I had a dealer, very knowledgeable coin dealer and hobbyist come by as I was setting that up. If you go down a little bit further, you'll see I've got some attribution points for this coin. But yep, almost missed it, but just up above.
There it is.
Those are actually the attribution points for the counterfeits. That is common to all the counterfeits, but it's not common to that variety. There's only one coin that had those, and that was the source coin, and then the rest of them cannot. But this individual looked at it and he said, well, those are just die markers for the variety. And I thought about that for a minute and I said, yeah, for the counterfeit dies and the counterfeit variety. And it's like a light went off. It's like, oh, and it was just a really interesting conversation because he certainly understood die varieties. He didn't recognize that this was the die varieties or the attribution points for the struck counterfeits.
So, Jack, you said something that I had not heard you say quite that way before, and I really like the way you phrased that. Yes, or the counterfeit variety. Explain what you mean by that, because I think that a lot of people might not quite grab the importance of that comment.
Absolutely. So these coins by this group of counterfeiters were the best that we have seen to date. But they go back to about 2008. And they would buy genuine coins and they would scan those coins and they would make dies that were so accurate. They would have every nick and cranny and scratch that was in the genuine coin would end up in the die. And so when you have a coin that has basically some environmental damage and just some misuse and whatever, just day to day, transfer into the next coin, it obviously should not have that. The only reason that that is in the next coin or the next 10 coins or whatever it might be is because those false dies all have those same matching markers. When you have a die variety, it may have some unique markers as well that you would expect in everyone because that was in the original die. So the counterfeit dies are just the same. Whatever was in that original coin is going to be in every one of the struck clones, as I call them. And so these marks that you see, particularly the plug on the A, there was only one coin, one genuine coin had that, and that was the source coin. But you can't have 19 others that all have that same plug that and have them be genuine coins.
Thank you for the clarification on that. I think it's extremely important that people understand you're looking at what should be on the coin, but you're also looking at what's common that shouldn't be on the coin.
Exactly.
That's
that
going
was
to
the
help you
aha
identify
moment.
those families, right? We hear Jack Riley
Yes.
talk about the family of counterfeits. And that's really important. That's why we do, or I say we, but I mean that very loosely because I don't. That's why they look at the die pairings. Even in counterfeits, you want to pair those dies because it's going to tell you, we see this with the trade dollar, right? The wrong reverse being used.
Right.
And so knowing what's on the actual die pairing for that is important. And then knowing what differences are there, because if you can tell what should be there, and if it's not there, it's a good indicator. If you can tell what shouldn't be there and it is there, that's a good indicator. If your obverse and your reverse die pairings don't match any known die pairing, that's a great indicator. So there's lots of things to know when you're looking at these particular things, and that's just one. I'd never heard you say it that way before, and it was just said very, very well. So I wanted to repeat that and have you explain. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And again, it was an aha moment for the dealer. It was like, oh, because again, he was on the right track for a die variety. He just didn't realize that it was a counterfeit die variety.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that was a really cool conversation. And then part of the discussion I would have with folks here, the one with the 14112, that's a lot number. That was actually in the Stax Bowers auction in 2017. And then the one above it in the boutique holder, which right there, that was certified just this June. And even though I've written these articles and I put the word out, these things are still coming out and they're still being slabbed as genuine coins. And that one, the AU58 NGC, is the nicest that I have in my collection. The Very Fine 35 Annex coin, that was certified in 2017. And then you go down to the Extra Fine 41, that was just certified this year. And so these continue to be a challenge for the certification companies. They continue to put them in slabs as genuine. I often joke and say, at what point will all of these just be genuine coins? I guess the only one that won't be is the one I put in the ICG slab that says it is counterfeit.
And I always reference the Mark Hoffman quote that if enough people believe it's authentic, eventually it will become so.
Absolutely. And there are enough people obviously believe these are, but
Yeah.
I've got the die markers to show that they're not. So let's keep going down. I'm kind of taking a long time here. This is the rabbit hole coin. This was the S158 large cent. This is the one that actually was shown as a variety on NGC's Variety Plus page. I own 3 of those. They go through and they try to make some changes to it to make them look different. The one in the AU details holder was actually sold for $2,000 on eBay and then recalled and donated to my exhibit when I showed that they were counterfeit. The one in the middle is the one that shows the image where they went in and kind of scraped up the edge to make it look a little different. And then they actually put the other one in the ground, the ICG one. I mean, it's corroded, but they all have the same attribution points that the all the counterfeits have, and I show that I think a little bit further down. So those are the basic attribution points, and the Y is too long for the variety. The die break was removed from the reverse. There's a number of things if you attribute that coin in no large sense you would know are wrong. But then that circle dimple on the bust or that crater, that was in the original coin. That's in every one of these. And so we've seen about 9 of these so far, and they all show that same attribution point. So that's in the false die. That's not a variety in an actual genuine coin. And then I said, this is the world famous Go brick. We'll talk about that a little bit further here, but I've got one that was slabbed as genuine, is counterfeit. It came out of China in 2018. The one on the right was for sale for almost $10,000 on eBay till we showed them that it was counterfeit, and I was able to get that one pulled off the market. And I went ahead and had ICG put that in a holder. And they look very similar. The overall appearance of those look very similar.
This is one of my favorite silver dollars, so I'm always fascinated. And the conversations that you've had with this particular coin always intrigued the hell out of me. That's why when you told me about what was going on, I was like, oh, hell yeah. I want to hear this story.
Absolutely. Let's go a little further down. This one is cool. This is one of the A&A finds. This is back before we had a lot of stuff with internet and whatnot. But again, it was really the same concept, repeating marks. These 1799 bust dollars were made, and they were really very good. Supposedly, the gentleman used dental technology and basically would make casts and make dies, and so it was very accurate. It's a BB 158. There are die clashes on the genuine coin that are in the counterfeits. But the one thing that's in all of them is that pit that you see in the R. And those are actually images from the ANA numismatist article. And then I own 2. One I've got in an ICG holder, and one that I have is raw. When you look at the coin, and I put these in dealers' hands, they look absolutely spot on until you turn the edge. And everyone talks about, look at all 3 sides of the coin.
Right.
The edge is flat and square and modern. So the way it was struck, it was not struck in a manner that would give you an edge that you can see on a 1799 silver dollar. We'll go down a little bit further. Again, these are just excerpts from my case. This was another ANA find. This was a Lebanese gold coin.
Can you talk about that just for a second? Clarify that to everybody in chat about the closed collars and open collars.
Yeah, because it was what, in the 30s or so? I forget exactly when they actually started putting
39 or something.
Yeah, because they basically struck coins free state. So they put them between the die and away they went. And so there are coins that, have elongated, that are too large in diameter because there was nothing to constrain them, depending on the thickness and the planchet stock when they went to strike it. And then when they went to the closed collar, they're basically confining that coin. And when they do that, that basically squares up the edge because it's confined. And the counterfeits, and this is something I don't normally write in articles or really talk about, many of the early counterfeits that we're seeing, the Chinese struck them in presses similar to what we have, and they struck them in collars. So you will see, a 1796 large cent with a square edge. That's not mint technology. That was done outside the mint. And we see that on a lot of the earlier dated counterfeits from the Chinese.
Thank you.
Yep.
We have one question for you before you move on. Do most of these deceptive counterfeits come from China? Who are the major actors?
China is one of the major actors. When you go in and look at particular coins, though, trade dollars are just highly counterfeited. I mean, there are just gajillions of trade dollars. And a lot of those came from Asia, and not just China. They came from a lot of other places. And so we see a lot of those, and some of those go back to the 60s and 70s. This particular gold coin that we have, what they call it Libyan gold, and it came from Libya. And the assumption was that they were just basically moving money. And so they were minting gold coins, and they made sure that there was actually a higher percentage of gold in them so that no one would actually challenge it as being fake, but they were fake. They were die-struck counterfeits. The one on the top, you just scroll back through, that S that was shown on that, they called that the wormy S, and the ANA identified that. Every one, they made a different die, and every one that was an estimate mark had the same reverse and had the squirrely looking S, which doesn't match any genuine variety. And so all three of these have 97 to 98% gold. So they're worth their, the gold melt, but they are counterfeit coins. And so they were moving quite a bit of gold with counterfeit coins.
So this is something that you and I have talked about in a private conversation when we were on the phone. And it's also something that I talked with Tiger Stacker about. And that is, if you're a stacker, people say, well, it's still gold, so it's okay because you just have it for the gold content. But the fact that it's a counterfeit coin adds issue to that. What do you do in a situation like this? How do you mitigate that? How do you manage that when you have a counterfeit coin that is real gold?
Well, of course, you have mega counterfeits, and those are highly collectible. And a lot of these Lebanese are highly collectible as well. Again, when we talk about counterfeits, we talk about a replica or a copy or whatever it might be, that the intent is to sell it as a genuine coin, or the intent is to deceive. And, when I have some of these, there is no intent to deceive. And that's why I put them in the ICG holders. And that's why I feel confident displaying those in cases like this, because they definitely say they're not genuine. I don't know what to say about anyone else as far as what they're doing. If I could have these melted, but you'll lose the numismatic value associated with these and the story and the history behind these when you do that. And I obviously didn't buy them for the money. I'm not into gold, but I'm just fascinated by the history and the story and actually the pieces. I mean, they are very well done, and they're just interesting to me.
Yeah, and so gold maple, he did say Libyan gold. Yeah, so there's quite a bunch of them, right, that actually came during that time frame.
Yeah, there are a lot that they die matched, and again, the $5 that I have, that is a common reverse that ANA identified, and again called the wormy S, and so it stands out. It's one of those that the people that know gold will just from across the room say, "Oh yeah, that's one of those Lebanese gold pieces." So yeah, very interesting.
Well, my favorite one out of all of these is that $3. You and I talked about that particular
Yeah,
coin.
we did. I know
Yeah.
that's one you want to get someday.
Yeah, that's definitely because again, one, I like the $3 princess coin. That is just it's one of those that is pretty neat. Test Logic member for 10 months. Thank you
Is that
so
the one
much
with
for
the
being a
rib
member.
roast on her head? Is
Say again?
that the one with the rib roast on
It's
her
the
head?
one with the rib roast on her head. That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just there's a lot of cool stories behind why they created this coin. Again, the 3-cent nickel, the 3-cent dime, the $3 gold piece, just some of that stuff. Eric just gifted 5 memberships. Nick Molnar, Dilemma Trauma, I like that name. Wink 971, Kraken Travis, and Silver Paws all got gifted memberships. So outstanding. Thanks so much, Eric. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
But yeah, Eric, Jack and I were talking about this because we were talking about the gold typeset book. And he's like, oh, you know what? I actually have one that has more content in it than it actually supposed to have. And I was like, he's like, yeah, it's the $3 piece. I was like, oh, you turkey. That's so cool. Like, let me send you a photo.
You
I'm like,
say
oh
turkey.
my God.
You said something else.
I might have changed the language up a little bit,
and
but
you changed the context a little bit for this. Yes.
yeah. Yeah, but that it's cool stuff. It's not my favorite coin he has. But again, my preference for this, and again, we talk about this, one of the ethical issues is that these can be cracked out, right? So what do you do in that situation? So again, it goes to that moral, ethical discussion. There's a lot of, depending upon who you talk to, you're going to hear a wide variety on how people should handle these. But truly, it goes back to intent.
It does, and I appreciate the thought. But if you go back to the Hobby Protection Act, these A&A ones are all predate that. So technically, they do not have to have copy on them. And again, it gets back to intent. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to try to sell it as a genuine coin?
All right.
So there's the two turkeys. You did say turkey, right? So that was the image. And I was not promoting myself. I was promoting Frostbyte, and those are the dreaded poker chips. He sent me a whole bag of poker chips, and I was down to 2 by the end of Friday. It was amazing how interested people were in the chips and in the story and in your channel. So hopefully that drums up some interest down the road.
Well, I appreciate that consideration. It was fun to send that stuff to you. So thank you.
Free stuff.
It was fun. Yeah, I do. I like graphs. I like to give it out. These are all pretty deceptive counterfeits that I had. These were medium level. All 4 of these coins had actually been in dealer's inventory, and they had suggested wanted me to look and see if I thought they were genuine, and they were not. And I get a lot of gifted coins that way, and then I send them to my friends at ICG, and we put them in holders. It's not genuine, so I can show them in displays like this.
So I got a text. I got a text real quick from a friend that said, "Hey, did Heritage freak out with that thumbnail?"
That's funny. I posted that and I sent that, and I actually got no response. So no, I didn't hear anything, and I wanted them to be aware of it because again, it was an eBay seller trying to create something to give the sense of authenticity of their counterfeit coin, and I really got no response on it, so I just let it go.
Well, I think they probably looked at this and chuckled and was like, "Yeah, that's complete BS." But anyway, it's an interesting question. Actually, yeah.
Yeah, it is. All right, let's go a little further down. What do we got down here? And so then we get into the that shiny stuff. And the scary thing about this, and Frosty, you and I have talked, there were a large number of people that visited the table that looked at that stuff that said that it was probably genuine because it was slapped. And that got into that discussion of, well, it's a fake slab and it's a fake coin. And these are the reasons that is counterfeit. But there were a lot of folks that told me they would have bought either of those coins.
Which is why we did the stream 2 weeks ago, and it's buy the coin, know the coin, not the holders, right? And we hear people all the time, well, if you're going to buy slab because it's trusted, not necessarily, and they're getting better at it, right? We need to really be smart about this. And again, there's so many resources for you all to reach out to and ask questions that we can't stop everything, but this is one of those community things. We need to make sure we understand what's going on. Hey, Silver Wolverine, what's up, brother? Good to see you. You want to get into the big story?
Well, we can get into a number of stories here. These were just some notes that I had. I've talked about a number of things here, but the big story, let's go up a little bit further here. You kind of went past it. So I had a lot of interested people. Just some of the comments here. One individual actually wanted to understand the process I go through to identify a coin as counterfeit with the 1806 half cents. And that was just cool because I went through my entire process. I pulled coins out. I told him about attribution. I told him about the key attribution points of the counterfeits. I showed him all that. And he was just fascinated by it. He was just very interested. And a number of people walked over and they all were listening as well. And it was just really cool to see that level of interest. I think I talked back screen. Yes, Mike, I did find a counterfeit. I crushed the dream, Paula.
Ha.
Had an attendee that he brought in this 1875 CC trade, and he wanted to know if I could authenticate it. And I'd written an article on it. Jack Riley is one of the dotted N counterfeits. And so I explained it to him. I actually had excerpts of the article, and I gave him my glass and showed him where he could pick up the attribution points. And then he said, "Well, thank you. I was very suspicious of it." So that was kind of cool. And then I had a gentleman come by late Friday. I had an AliExpress three-legged buffalo in an MS66, whatever it was. And he asked to see it. And I said, "Sure." And I said, "But you need to understand it's counterfeit like everything else I have here." And he said, "Oh, I still want to see it. It's probably the closest I'll ever get to owning one." So I put it in his hand and explained some of the attribution points with that. So that was pretty cool as well. But then I had a conversation about the 1836 Goberg. So I had the two coins in the case. And I had a gentleman come up that was a coin dealer that had a large spread there. And I didn't see his name, so I wasn't sure who he was. And he was just staring at the case, and I started to explain the 1806 half cents, and he basically just cut me off and said, "I want to see the two Gobricks." And it's like, well, okay. So I opened the case and pulled them out, and he looked at them by eye, and then he said, "I want to go back and get my glass. I'll be back in a couple minutes." A couple minutes was about 20 minutes. I was starting to get a little irritated, I guess. And when he came back, he had his glass, and he looked at them both, and he told me they were absolutely genuine and very loudly,
Uh,
and that I was wrong, and he wanted to know my price, and he would buy them right now. And I said, I respectfully disagree, and I have reason to know that they're counterfeit, and I can't and I won't sell them. And then he said even louder, they are absolutely genuine. And by that time, it was starting to draw some people in. Everybody wants to hear what's going on. And so a group started gathering, and he just was louder and louder. And he wanted to know my price, and he was going to buy them right now. And again, I told him, no, it's not going to happen. And he finally just kind of walked away. And I left the counter, I left the table, and I went and I found Matt. And I said, "Matt, I don't know who this guy is. I couldn't see his name, but he really challenged me on the authenticity of these coins." And so Matt was heading towards our table anyhow. Again, we had the coin nerd table, and so he actually came over and sat down in a chair across from me just as the guy came back up. And some other people walked up, I think, kind of followed him, and he wanted to see him again. And he had his glass, and he glassed them, and again told me they were genuine. And then I tried to explain to him why they were not. And I said that the source coin had a hole in it, and it was plugged and repaired. And you can tell by the back of the F and of is blunted off, and that's where they repaired it. And he says, "Yes, I know it's genuine." He said, "I repaired it." I said, "What?" And he said, "Yes, and he named another name, used to repair Gobricks back in the day."
mm,
And that kind of took me back, because to me, that's not quite counterfeiting, but it's kind of in the same vein, where you repair a coin to try to restore or improve its value.
mhm.
And but he told me he was a coin doctor and that he had repaired mine. So go down a little bit further here. I've got a little thing that I showed him. So I talked about the back of the F. Go down to the diagram if you don't mind.
There you go.
So there's my attribution points, and of course you've got these huge scratches on the arm, and a couple other depressions and dents and dings. But you can see on the far right what a genuine F looks like, and then on the left in the middle, you see it's blown it off, and those are two of the counterfeits. So the reason he was saying it was genuine is because it looked similar to something that he had done, and that one took me back. And I said, so you were in China in 2018. And he said, what?
Uh,
And I said, the coin in your hand was mailed from China in 2018 through the Netherlands and then to the US. And he just looked shocked. And then Matt says, when did we see the first of these? And I said, we saw the whole source coin in 2008. And that's when this all seemed to have started with this particular group of counterfeiters. 2007, 2008 is when they started buying source coins and then started making their dies. So all of a sudden he was a little more interested in this image. And then I've got another image where I actually explained it to him. Go down a little bit further.
Jeff Baker just subscribed. Thank you so much.
He was invested at that time.
Jeff Baker's on this, okay? So this was a drawing that he didn't want to look at at first, and then suddenly he was interested in looking at it. And basically it shows the whole source coin on the left. It shows what we believe to be the repaired source coin, and again, a friend owned that. And then the one on the right was the one that he had in his hands. That was mine.
The one he repaired.
2018 China. So then he started asking questions about the source and the timing. And is that one in the middle, the repaired source coin? Yes, yes, yes. And then the one on the right is the one in the TPG holder that you have in your hands right now. And the second one, has the same matching marks. So he kind of just, it was really interesting because he then took the two coins, he took his glass, and I swear he spent 15 minutes looking at both these coins over and over and over. Put one down, pick the other one up, put it down, pick the other one up. And he kind of had this pale look on his face. And finally, he just put his head down, and then he looked up and he just handed me the two coins back.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, so are all of your articles for EAC in Pennywise that I can see them? And I said, what? And then I realized that he's an EAC member. And I said, yes. I said, the one on this 1806 half cents was in the last publication. And then the last thing he said was, would you look at this coin on my phone? Do you agree it's damaged? And it was a large cent. And I said, yeah. And he got up and walked away. And that was the last I saw of him.
Mm.
So it was quite a show. There were a lot of people that were around. Of course, Ben and the young guy with him, they heard all of it. And he's heard all of it. And it was probably the most interesting conversation I've had at the coin show in a long time. And it was opposite of the one where I was at Central States telling a guy that the coin was counterfeit.
Yeah. Jeez.
Well, and Paula has said this a number of times when we're talking about coins. You've got to be very, very, very careful stating that something is or isn't authentic, right? You really have to know. And this is a good example of how somebody who has an idea or an insight to something that they think they know better than the person who's cataloged it, evaluated it, wrote stories about it, listed the die markers. These things cause problems, right? And we see these things from time to time. So it's really important to do something. And I talk about this a lot. Paula knows this term from being in the medical field. It's called deference to expertise, right? Just because you work in it, or in this case, have been the coin doctor and admitted that you have improved coins for more money. We won't even go there right now. But again, there's potential problems with that. So, Paula has talked to me about this a lot as a person who's on YouTube, and we talk about this. I'm still new to the hobby. People forget I've only been doing this for 3 years. And it's very important. And she's like, remember, when you're talking about these, if you're not 100% unequivocally sure, don't say you think it is what you think it is.
Say I don't know.
Yeah, just and why is that important? Well, because
I don't know.
when you're talking about the prices of these coins, Jack, how much are we talking about?
You're talking about 12.5 to 15 easy for a coin in this condition. I actually thought, if I just tell him $9,000 a piece, I'll walk out of here with $18,000 and then obviously go to jail. But my thought also was, this guy's so arrogant and he knows so much that he's going to take them as genuine.
Yeah.
And then the worst thing is he's going to sell them to somebody else because he's an expert, and someone else is going to have them in their collection as genuine coins.
So it's important to not understate the work that a lot of folks do and really try and again, folks, Jack has been gracious to come on. Again, huge thanks to Paula for connecting me with Jack. She's like,
You're welcome.
yeah, well, but the thing is that, there are people in our lives that lead us to discovery. There are people in our lives who lead us to problems. And I have been very fortunate in my YouTube career to get connected with some people who are really genuinely about helping the hobby. That's a really big deal, to me especially, but it's a really big deal because I don't want to promote things that are manipulative. I don't want to promote things that are false. I said this the other day, and we were talking about this before we come on. Again, we're going to have to record one of our sessions one time and just play it. I'm going to have to edit all the names out. But I have walked away from a fairly large channel because of the BS that they're doing right now and said I'm done with them. And it's sad because there are so many problematic channels out there that we don't need to add to that. We need to be high moral fiber. We need to be stand up. We need to show and talk about what's fact, what's true. Sometimes it's going to tick people off. I don't care if it upsets people. We have a responsibility, and the people that are on this panel right now have that responsibility. They have that same motive and that same drive, and that is integrity first, truth before favorability, right? They want people to know the truth about these coins. So again,
and don't be scared to be wrong. I mean, we all make mistakes.
Mistakes
you don't have
happen.
to have your own.
Yeah.
A lot of people will sit there and stand by something, and it's just like, if you're wrong, just
A lot of egos, a lot of big egos.
That's what I'm saying, and just stand up and say you're wrong. We learn every day. Things change in this hobby every day.
Yeah.
So Jeff is saying, "What's up, Jack?"
I was going to say that's a really good point because he never said he was wrong. He just bowed his head and pushed the coins across the table.
His ego.
And then when the guys did their podcasts, when Matt, they did their meet and greet with T and with Ben asked Matt, what was the most interesting thing that happened to you at the coin show today? And he said, when we showed this dealer that these coins are counterfeit.
Yeah, I heard that.
His comment was poignant. It was.
Yeah.
No matter how much experience you have and how much you think you know, there's always an opportunity to learn.
That's right.
Well, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you sharing this information. And again, I don't know if you heard me, but Jeff Baker's like, "What's up, Jack?"
Yeah, I sent him a note and said hi.
Okay, cool. Oh, I see that in chat.
Jeff is right in the middle of these with me, so he's a great researcher, and he's been involved in these all the way back to the source coin.
Well, and he says, I have the source coin for this, or used to own the source coin, yeah. So, again, to hear somebody that had that piece and then hear the story, it just makes me laugh. I love this kind of stuff. And when you sent me this thing last night, and my exact words were, "Oh no, that's nice, but I want to hear it from your mouth." Like, I want to listen to the exchange and actually hear what happened, because these are the joys of Jack Young.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is the stuff he gets to deal with. But again, a lot of people ask, Frosty, why are you so into this counterfeit thing, and why does this matter so much? And it's all about protection of the hobby. Okay, it is a hobby. But Paula, I'm going to pull up what I was showing you guys earlier.
Okay.
You know exactly what I'm pulling up, right?
No. Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Let me find this real quick.
I do.
There
Oh,
are these channels. And I don't know if it's this same guy or not, but where is, I need to find the right one. There's so many of these.
Can I
I'll
make
find
one
it.
more comment about the end of the show?
Please fire away.
Well, because both of the guys on either side of me were podcast kings, I ended up being interviewed and probably broke a number of cameras yesterday. So we don't know where that's going to end up.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I can.
Oh, it's not coming up. That's the thing I hate about Facebook feeds. They'll bring up one thing and then just load you with it. It doesn't pull up all the other ones.
And if you guys in chat are not subscribed to the Coin Show podcast and Ben the Coin Geek, you need to be. That's all I'm going to say.
And again, there's so many people out there here, as I finally
Silver
found.
Stacker, yes. T the Silver Stacker.
He's okay.
He's all right.
Don't tell him I said. Okay, so you guys have seen this. You guys, let me know if you can see the screen.
Brother.
Oh no.
Well,
no.
Yeah, but this isn't, again, we're not talking the same thing.
That's the counterfeit coin channel.
This is the counterfeit coin channel. Yes.
There's lots of them.
And there was one in particular that I saw here. And again, folks, all this is BS. There's so much of this stuff out there. But there was one in particular, and I'm going to scroll through these pretty quickly. I mean, again, you can see the prices on some of these. They're just outlandish. But there is one that I just...
He's a douche.
Well, I don't know that this is him, but again, there's not saying it's not. And
they both are.
Here it is. There we go.
It is.
So there is so much mis and disinformation out there already. What I won't tolerate, and again, and I say this with due respect to the people, mistakes are mistakes. But if you knowingly know that something is not right and you perpetuate that because you're going to make money, I have no need for you.
Now, can I just say on a side note that those prices on the 2021 die breaks are pretty accurate? Just saying.
Well, yes, but this isn't a gold coin.
But it's not a gold coin.
It's not a gold coin. It's meant to look that way. You're not going to find a 2020 at Eagle at $223. It doesn't matter if this is a 10th ounce or whatever it is. You're not going to find that. Maybe if it's a 1 gram, but I don't think they create anything smaller than a 10th ounce in this particular item. But I can tell you what this does do.
Don't buy that damaged coin for $822 either.
Yeah, but I can tell you what this does do. This primes the person who sees this to go to eBay and see, oh my God, look, it's the 2020 for $225. These things are meant to prime visualizations. And we talked about this with the fake site that Paula had, right? And one of the problems with this is that your mind's eye starts to see something. And if you see something a couple different places, when you're looking for something and your mind goes, I recognize that, you're more likely to make a decision, right? But those are reactionary. When you're making a decision to buy numismatics, when you're making a decision to buy gold or silver, when you're making a decision to invest, whether in stocks, portfolio, Bitcoin, whatever the hell it might be, do your research, understand what's going on. I just sent a request to another channel saying, hey, I want to look at some potential prices, what's gained, what's lost in the future, because I want to look at some of these items and show people where the prices are, where they should be, and then look at some of these counterfeit elements and say, look, you're not going to find, even if this was a 10th ounce gold coin, you're not going to find this for $223. these things are priming people. These kind of things are just priming people for deceptive practices later on. And if you start to see stuff for what it genuinely is, you can start making better decisions. So having Jack come through, having Jack Riley post in the channel and share stuff, doing stuff in the proxy blog, posting stuff in Coin Week or wherever those items may be, seeing the book that's done by Zach, those pieces of information, we need to make sure that we get the good information out, because there's so much misinformation and disinformation that it's a real challenge. It is a real struggle to be able to identify these things. And so again, Jack, I appreciate you coming up. Obviously, standing member of the panel, you come up anytime you want to. But I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the work that you guys do. And it's not just Jack. There's a whole slew of people that are genuinely about protecting this hobby. And we really need to engage with them and make sure that their voices are heard, because they're going to be the ones to teach the youth. They're going to be the ones that is the generational knowledge that has to be passed on. Those are the people that people need to hear from. And we need to make sure that those voices are heard.
Don't let what we tell you stop with you, though. It's
right.
only good if you pass it on. We can teach one person who goes, if everybody passes on that information to another person, and then they tell two friends, and they tell two friends, and so on, and so on, and so on. Those of you from the 1900s will get that, but
but it's not only that.
I think it was a chewing gum commercial.
If anybody is, how many licks to the center of a Tootsie Pop?
They tell two friends, and they tell two friends, and so on.
And so on.
Yeah. Well, but again, if you're talking, you guys are IT based, right? The compound of doubling. One person tells two. If two people tell two, that's 4. Those 4 turn into 8, then 16, then 32. It grows exponentially, right? But
don't turn it into a telephone game. Make sure you're passing on accurate stuff.
Yeah, and again, Facebook, know where you're getting your information from is important too. But I wanted to share this because before the stream, we were looking at some of these, and it's fun to see some of these things. And like this one, right? The 3.1 gram double die, and it's a large date.
Oh, brother.
Right. Like being able to look at these things and understand why it's not what it says it is. We're not asking you guys to become the experts with this. But be familiar with what's happening with some of these channels and why they are so manipulative. Or like the site, the In COD We Trust, that site, right? Those are all priming sites to get people to believe that these are things that they're not. And there are people out there who create these things just to watch the world burn. They like making fools of people. There are people out there that do that kind of stuff.
They're just making money, and they're making money off of the backs.
Hey, 75. By the way, some of your things got given away yesterday. So thank you for sending me those. For those of you who weren't tracking, she created the 180-degree rotational things. Put them on both in the sticker and just in the on the flips. Sent me a whole bunch of them, so I want to give a bunch of those away.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so just neat little stuff. So I appreciate that. And again, it's the little things in the community that are fun to do. So I just wanted to tell her. And then I know Luther had to take off, but we gave away some copper stuff. Azure Blue's the one who got those.
Aw, Azure.
So I'll be sending those off to him.
I gotta go.
Yep, I got to be taking off too here shortly.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you guys so much for coming up and hanging out. I definitely appreciate you guys.
Have a happy Thanksgiving too, if I don't see you guys before next Thursday. Have a very happy and safe Thanksgiving. Don't choke on turkey bone. Okay, bye. I love you.
Bye.
Oh, that's funny. Eric has got a reveal. You're going to do it
sometimes
immediately
around
following?
noon.
Are you going to do it immediately following?
Probably just before noon. I actually still got to make my flip inserts up. I have been taking photographs, so I've got to set my scope up because I use different lighting for the reveals than I do for taking pictures. And that's about it.
Outstanding.
Yeah, 61 B-roll.
Go over and subscribe to Copper Coins again. Set the notification. He hasn't made it yet, but you'll get notification if you turn your notifications on. Go subscribe to the Coin Show podcast. Again, Mike and Matt are phenomenal. If you're into ancients, go check out Aaron Burke. Again, so many great people out here that are really trying to put on great information. If you have a topic that you want to know about, if there's something that you want to know, or there's a coin that you want to talk about, reach out, let me know. And again, I just appreciate all the support and all the conversation today. Eric, have a good one, brother. I'm glad your back is feeling better.
You too. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Jack, as always, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. It's always fun.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was fun.
All right, folks. Well, hey, be well, be blessed. Stay out of trouble as much as possible. And I will see you guys later. Take care.